Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Amy Armstrong joining us live here today from beautiful
Mm.
Columbus, Ohio, as a conflict resolution specialist and owner of her own company. It's called the Center for Family Resolution. And also, I should mention that is the website. So go to the centerforfamilyresolution.com and please welcome our friend Amy. How are you today?
I appreciate you calling me your friend, Jill. I love that. Thank you. You are so upbeat, and it puts me in a cheerful mood as well.
Ditto. And that's why I love my job. I get to talk to
Mhm.
so many amazing people. Not all as sweet and kind as you, but you never know. But I love meeting people and discovering their talents and how
Mhm.
they're helping people. And this is what you do. So tell us about your coaching
Oh,
and mediation for a little bit, just a little overview
oh,
about what you
I
do.
have a story for you, Jill. Yesterday, I had a mom and dad in my office that probably would not have used the word cheerful for me. Because when I was working with them, Jill, I literally spent so much of my attention on boundaries with them because they have a child together and they were never married, and their situation has had so much drama, calls to protective services, multiple calls to the police, lots of different extended family and friends involved. And they came to their session with me just so ready, Jill, to try to prove that they were right and the other person was wrong. And you know what I told them? I said, I don't blame you. I would feel the same way. They were so frustrated and so angry at what they perceived the other person had done wrong to upset them, frustrate them, anger them, and put their little girl in the middle of a really big fight.
Ah,
And they were rightfully upset. I mean, they were bursting. I had to meet with them individually at first and really help them understand that we are not going to get anywhere if they're focusing all their attention on justifying their behavior and trying to prove that the other person was wrong. I was like, I get it. I totally get it. And I said, you guys, I have some really, really good news for you. Are you dying to hear what it is?
I'm dying because I'm kind
Yeah.
of in this boat myself. So I'm really interested. Go ahead.
So you can feel it. You can feel it, Jill. So I told them literally, I have some really good news for you guys. I said, Mom, you get to keep your story. All the things that you've interpreted that have been important to you, that are really causing you so much angst, I'm not going to take that away from you. And Dad, guess what? You get to keep your story too. You guys are going to have different narratives for the rest of your lives. You're going to describe the situation differently. And I call that your story. It's important to you. It touches on your values and your principles and just things that are so, so meaningful to you. And you get to keep them. So here's the deal, guys. We are going to work in the gap between your two stories. Dad, I don't want you trying to convince mom that your story is the only way to look at things. And mom, of course, you know what I'm going to say. You don't get to spend our time trying to convince dad that the way you see things is right.
Yeah.
But what we do want to do is find out, and this is one of my favorite coaching questions, Jill. What do you want to do with this gap? Because
Mm.
your little girl is sitting in it and it's icky for her. So we're not going to change your stories, but we are going to do some really good work here today because your little girl deserves a
She's worth it. Yep.
calm, pleasant, like she wants to have fun. She doesn't want to live in tension. She doesn't want to hear
Mhm.
mom trying to convince mom's boyfriend that dad was so awful and vice versa. So let's have a look at that gap today. And Jill, I could watch them sit back in their chairs,
Wow.
take a breath. They let their shoulders drop a little bit. And
Mhm.
here's the two things that were happening. Are you ready for me to tell you the two things that were happening for them? They knew that they couldn't trust each other, but they could trust me.
Ah,
They knew that I had their back. And so the attention that they were trying to kind of force their way with each other
mhm.
dissipated because they started focusing on feeling validated and kind of feeling better in their own skin, just being with a person that was going to have their back.
Okay.
So that was amazing. And it also got them thinking that really they do want to focus on their little girl. They just don't really know how because they don't know what to do with these
Yeah.
awful, like
Uh,
painful feelings that they have. And so we got to just kind of normalize, of course you feel bad. This is your daughter we're talking about. There's no way you're going to just let it roll off of you. Like it actually shows healthy caring that you have such a big reaction. So that's great. I'm not going to take that away from you.
uh,
We just need to know that you get to work on that with your support people, not taking it out on the other person.
and then how did the session go? Fill
Yeah.
me in. Did it really go well? Like,
Well, if
like
I
super
hadn't
well?
seen it with my own
Oh,
eyes,
you wouldn't have believed
if I
me.
hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would not have believed it because I literally was sitting where I had chosen to sit at the table was right next to my panic button that I literally could have called for help if these two went at each other in a way that I couldn't control, right? And I told them that. So what happened was when every time they started to get into justifying or defensive behaviors, I would say, hold on, I've
Hmm.
got you. Let's come back to that gap.
Okay.
Leave your story alone for a minute. Let's come back to that gap. So I just kept showing them that my boundary was really tight. There was no room for them to get on that, righteous pedestal like,
I'm
ever.
right. You're wrong. I've been
Yeah,
there. I know. I know.
I've been there. It's very easy to do that. And so what happened was they started telling their story as their story rather than
Hmm.
as the capital T truth.
Got it.
And I'm not kidding. It took about 20, maybe 22 minutes in.
Wow.
I quit talking. I sat back in my seat and I let them take over because they were able to say, oh, I thought that's what you meant when you did this or that.
Hmm.
And he was like, no, that's not what I meant. And she was like, oh, well, and then he'd be like, I'm sorry. Here's what I should have done instead, because I can see how that had an impact on you. And I was like,
Oh.
I literally used the word with them. I was like, do you guys kind of see that there's a miracle here right now?
I want to sing the song, but I'm not a good singer. But
I
hallelujah.
know.
It's like that
That was
moment.
it.
Wow.
There had even been an accusation of malicious wrongdoing.
Hmm.
The little girl had made a report that something bad had happened at her mom's house, and she told her teacher about it. Her teacher heard it with adult ears and interpreted it as, a real risk. And had reported it to Child Protective Services,
Uh,
and the parents, Jill,
uh,
these parents were able to talk about it. And mom was able to say, you know what, I was accusing you of making her say that. And dad was able to say, I really thought you guys were being inappropriate with her. And they were able to say, I can see where you got that idea. And here's what we're going to do differently. It
oh,
was incredible. And these people were young. And I said to them at one point, I said, you know what I call this, you guys? You're kind of growing up.
yes.
And the mom was funny. She's like, yeah, I don't even drink anymore. But it
Wow.
was really sweet. It was really sweet. And then at the end, this was really cool. They were able to say to each other, they were able to say, okay, like, how do we keep this going? Right? Because when Amy's not sitting here, we're not going to be able
Mhm.
to do this. And I was just kind of like, you know what? How about you guys kind of leave each other alone?
Yeah.
And we'll come back next week and we'll work on it some more and we'll get you there. And they were, they were just it actually warmed my heart. I told them thank you for making my day. They gave me so much hope, Jill, that people can resolve
Ah,
their conflicts without giving up their values, their principles. I
wow.
don't really even believe in compromise per se because nobody wants to give up something that's really important to them.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't it amazing?
This is beautiful work. Look, I've been a
Yeah.
single parent since day one. I had my first son by myself. The other one I had with someone, never been married, but it's
Okay.
been, things came to a head last year. It was always kids with me. You pay $500 a month child support. That's fine. I don't care. Good. I would like you to see your son more. And then it didn't work out. And then all of a sudden he came to me, but went to the courts, got angry, and says he wants to see
Mm.
his son every Tuesday, Thursday, and every other weekend. I'm like, please. Yes, I would love this. You can have him any day. I'm
Give
like,
you a
easy. I don't know
break.
why we need an agreement. Long story
Right.
short, now talk about anger building. I had to spend $14,000 to go back and forth with his attorneys
Oh,
and which is bizarre. I'm like, but why? I'm like, I've always been a kind
right.
person, always giving you. I do complain you don't see him enough because mom needs a break and I don't ever get one. And so then the
Right.
agreement went into effect this past April 24th, because I know, yeah.
Ooh.
And guess what? Within the year of April 24th, my son only slept at his house 2 times. So
Mm,
now he spent all his money on this agreement. There's no every Tuesday, Thursday. There's no every other weekend. And I'm still very angry about it because why do we waste this money and you're not showing up? And it's
right.
not good. And he wonders why his son doesn't want to see him. And I'm like, because you don't make the effort. It's just, so there's
Right.
been a lot of anger and chaos. And then I realized, oh gosh, this is affecting my children, both of them. And
Right.
so now I just try to I'm just more open to, it is what it is. And if he wants to see you, great. I can't force it, I can't.
Yeah.
But I was last year, if he would have talked to me, I would have went, blah, 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 and he did this and he did that. And it would have been that. And he would have said,
Drama.
well,
Yep.
yeah, I can get it. And it's frustrating because there's also two different parenting skills. So when he is with my son and even the other son he takes too, he, there's different parenting skills, right? And that's always difficult because I want homework done. I want this done. I want bedtime. And
Exactly.
then
Ah,
now
I can
how do
feel
you
it.
handle two parents that exactly? Because it should
Yeah.
be for the children, like the strict rules and the way it should be. And but then when they go with
Mhm.
the other parent, sometimes it's very different. So how do you like talk to
I
two
love that
people about that?
question.
Because for example, he won't come out on a Sunday to a basketball or a football game, soccer game, because he's got to watch football. And I'm like, that's your priority should be the kid, not. I'm like, you have him every other weekend.
You can't
So it's a
tell
fight.
him that.
It's a fight every. I'm like, this is your weekend. Well, I have to watch football. I'm like, so how do you deal
Right.
with someone like
And
that? It's
Jill, without even knowing him, you don't have influence over him. He doesn't want to be told what to do, right?
frustrating.
So
Yeah.
here's the deal. Number one is that even when he took you to court, it was about something else. It wasn't
Absolutely.
really about that time. Just saying, just saying. I don't even know him,
Clearly,
but I guarantee
clearly.
it was about something else. Number two is I invite all the listeners to reach out to us and let us help you with this. Oftentimes, in one session, we can make these big breakthroughs
Wow.
because it really is different for everyone. Because we don't know, we're going to try to get some alignment, and we know how to talk to people that don't want to be told what to do. We have a beautiful coaching approach that's very firm and we have really good boundaries, but we also meet people where they are, and we're very good at finding what motivates people
Hmm.
to make changes. So I highly recommend folks get some sessions with us and let us help you. As far as the homework goes, the short answer is we're going to see how much alignment there can be that's going to work, but we don't want an attempt at alignment to actually create more conflict because some people need more of a parallel approach where you do your thing in your house, I do my thing in my house. Just like kids go to their grandparents all
Yeah.
the time and maybe they're allowed to jump on the couch at one house and they're not at the other house. we can work with that. So we take the whole system and we look at who everybody is, meet everyone where they are, look at what motivates and what really matters to each person. And we craft a plan together with you, not just any plan, not just a cookie cutter plan, but the plan that's going to work for you.
Okay.
And we also teach how to make adjustments, how to reflect, how to check in with your child and see how it's working without putting that child back in the middle of the conflict. So it is beautiful when parents have the same rules, especially safety rules, right? Like at one house, if a child's allowed at 5 years old to ride the ATV out in the country and no helmet, right? And then at the other house, they're not even allowed to, play in the driveway without an adult present, right? We've had that. That's a real scenario I just painted. So sometimes we're not going to be able to come together. We
Yeah,
give
like
it a
my
go.
son is 6 and he lets him drive in the front seat when he takes him. And I said, he needs to be in the back in a booster seat. I'm like, there's no, and so he'll leave that way and then he comes home and then my son's in the front seat. I'm like, this is illegal. This is for his
Yeah, for
health. This is his well-being.
safety.
Oh, but he wants to sit in the front. Do you
Yeah.
realize, it's so there's just things sometimes, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
We
difficult.
really
Even,
try to align on safety. We try to align on
okay,
bedtime, and we really
yes,
try to align if there are allergens, if
of
there's certain products or medications. We really try to prioritize those types of alignments.
yep.
It would be lovely if everything aligned in, both households. But get this, Jill, I'm sure you know this, and your listeners know this. Even in a family where mom and dad are under the same roof, the
Yeah.
rules can be very different. I have a higher tolerance for chaos maybe than my co-parent does. So we, even under the same roof, help children to cope and be resilient in different environments. Just because the rules are going to be different at school, maybe one teacher has different rules from another teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good for kids to learn that everyone's different and they learn to cope and adjust. But at the same time, especially with health and safety, we're definitely going to give it a go to see if we can create a cohesive plan so that child is not bounced back
I
and
know.
forth and getting
Yeah.
so confused.
Ah, my heart goes out to all those
Mhm,
children out there because
mhm.
it's all over the place. It happens all
And
the
this
time.
happens in the workplace too, where people have different ways of doing things
Mhm.
and they have their stories and they blame each other. And we can go in and unpack the dynamic and help people make a plan, not that's right, but that's going to work. We get out of focusing on who's right and who's wrong, and we focus on what is going to work based on your goals for productivity, for health, for, really creating the kind of culture and environment you want to create.
Got it. Well, remind us how we can contact you. We still have more
Yes.
time, but let's remind them.
You can
Wow.
set up an appointment today at www.thecenterforfamilyresolution.com. We have folks that are ready today to get back to you, to put you on the calendar, to talk with you and understand what's going on with you and make sure we get the right service for you. I mean, Jill, I have a group that meets on Thursdays. I'll be on it at noon
Okay.
today. And in this group, this is for parents who have impossible situations where their co-parent undermines them in every way, financially, legally, relationally, maybe says horrible things about you to the children, maybe uses social media, maybe keeps taking you back to court and costing you thousands and thousands of dollars. These are the situations where what I might call normal, rational logic simply doesn't work. And so this group, it's CARE, it's care, it's my care group, and that really talks about how can we stay calm?
Mhm.
How can we be accepting of the things we can't change? How can we take responsibility for our own reactions and then really step into a place of empowerment? So that CARE
Okay.
is the program, and that group is it's not for everyone. It's for people that are ready to try something very radically different than just trying to rationalize with the person with whom they're co-parenting, because the gaslighting, the the frustration, the rage is just taking you over, keeping you up at night. You're probably losing friends because they're tired of hearing about this crazy situation you're in.
Hmm.
And you need a group that understands and can help you take control of your life again. So that's a service that I do personally. I've got other coaches who specialize in all different areas, and we want to make sure everyone gets the right service because life is short and precious,
Yeah.
and you know what, it should be fun. We should get
Yeah.
to enjoy our children. We should get to enjoy our days and not have it full of these conflicts that just trap us in anxiety and keep us up at night.
Hallelujah. I'll say it again. Okay.
Yeah.
Just for new time listeners, if you don't mind just sharing, what brought you into this
Oh
field to
my
help people
gosh.
like this? Could you just share just a little bit of that? It's always good.
Yes, I don't mind at all. I very humbly say I did it all wrong. I tried just being the nice guy.
Mhm.
I tried just, you know, acting like everything was okay. I tried just being grateful for what was okay. And at the end of the day, I had so much pain in my body. I had
Mhm.
so much angst. I couldn't think about anything else than my conflicts. And I finally had enough of a really dysfunctional situation where I was panicked about my finances. I was panicked that my children were actually, losing their respect for me. It was really, really scary. And I had a coach who helped me learn to tell the truth
Mhm.
one little bit at a time. And what I learned and have really modeled my work around is how we can set foolproof boundaries and still be kind. I knew I wasn't a bitch.
Yeah.
And so I thought I can't do boundaries because I'm not that person. And so I've created this whole model around setting the kind of boundaries that I needed that I didn't know were possible, where we set boundaries and it doesn't make us into a bad person. We don't have a big black cloud around
No.
us pushing people away. It's attractive. We welcome people into our life that support our empowerment and really help us be at our best. And I really am the person that I needed when I was in my very, very dark place, basically curled up on the bathroom floor.
Ah. Well, you see, we've all been through
Mhm,
everything. No one
mhm.
is superior. No one
Oh
is
no,
alone. Like we've all have our fair share of
we
mistakes,
do.
triumphs, challenges, but it's good to learn. And I think with age, we get wiser. With our experiences, we get wiser. And
I
so,
hope.
yeah, we clearly we do. I agree.
If we're open to learning rather than blaming.
Yep.
Blaming stunts our growth.
Beautiful. Well, we still have just 3 minutes left in the show. So,
Mhm.
what else? How did you kind of want
Yeah.
to end the show for today?
Yeah, sure. I'd love for people to really understand a coaching model. We're not here to tell people what to do. You have the answers inside of you, but they're completely hidden underneath fears, underneath all these obstacles, all these beliefs that you think are holding you down. And so a coaching model is not telling you what to do. It's finding out what you know is your right next step. Just what is the right next step? You need one step today. And then that leads to the next step, and that leads to the next step. And it can be so overwhelming for people to try to make this huge transformation. It
Yeah.
seems overwhelming. And I just want to remind everyone to receive some good support and identify that one step that you are willing and able to take today.
Beautiful. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
Thank you
remind us
so
how we
much,
could reach
Jill.
out to you.
Thank you. I just love the questions and love sharing the good news that we really do not have to suffer with this grip of anxiety that can really keep us stuck. We can break free.
Perfect. And how can we contact you? Do you offer an initial consult if someone's interested?
Yeah, we definitely want to hop on a call with folks and make sure we line them up with the right service. So we'll definitely do that. They can contact us. There's a book an appointment session right on the website. And then we're going to hop on a call. We're going to connect. We're going to email. We're going to find out exactly what they need and make sure they get started right away.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you. And
Jill,
always
as
good to see you. Great to see you here
always.
on the Zoom and
Thank
podcast.
you. I love it. Take
So
care.
much.
Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.